What if I told you that a girl who lost everything at 12 years old was lied to about her mother's death her entire life and had to cross borders illegally just to survive, was actually the daughter of a millionaire CEO? This is the true story of Masha Kingston. At 18 years old, most people are worried about college parties and what major to pick. Masha Kingston was selling a restaurant to pay a smuggler $10,000 to cross her into the United States illegally. But to understand how she got there, we need to go back to the beginning. Back to a little girl who had everything and then lost it all in one night. Masha Kingston, that was her real name. Born in Jamaica to a Russian mother and a Jamaican father, her name was a blend of two worlds that she would never fully belong to either one. From the moment she could remember, Masha was told her mother was dead. Car accident. Quick. Painless. That's what her father, Malcolm Kingston, always said whenever she asked. And she stopped asking after a while because every time she brought it up, she could see something break behind his eyes. Malcolm Kingston wasn't just any father. He was the CEO of one of Jamaica's largest hotel chains, inherited from Masha's grandfather. $10 million mansion, private tutors, nannies rotating in and out like clockwork because her father was always working, always busy, always somewhere else. Masha grew up in luxury, sure, but she grew up alone. The only constant in her life wasn't her father, it was Winston Clark. Winston was Malcolm's right-hand man, his best friend since childhood, the guy who actually ran the business while Malcolm did whatever Malcolm did. Masha didn't know it then, but Winston was the only reason the company hadn't completely collapsed. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about inheriting a business. Just because you own it doesn't mean you know how to run it. Malcolm Kingston was a terrible businessman, worse than terrible. He was addicted to everything that could destroy a man. Gambling, prostitutes, drugs, you name it, he was throwing money at it. And the company that his father built from the ground up, it was bleeding money, had been for over a decade. But when you're 12 years old and living in a mansion, you don't notice these things. You don't see the cracks forming. Until one day, you do. Masha was 12 when everything changed. She came home from school one afternoon and the house was full of boxes. The nanny, crying, her father, nowhere to be found. And by the end of that week, they were gone. The mansion, the private tutors, the life she knew, all of it vanished. They moved to Montego Bay, from a $10 million estate to a modest house that probably cost less than her father's car collection. Masha went from having everything to nothing, and nobody explained why. Malcolm just said business was tough and they needed to downsize. That's what adults do, right? They use words like downsize instead of saying, we're broke because I gambled away your future. But here's where the story gets interesting. They didn't move into that modest house alone. There was a woman waiting for them there, Natalia Ivanova, a friend of Winston's, apparently, a Russian woman who owned a small beachside restaurant. And from day one, Natalia treated Masha like she was her own daughter, not like the nannies who were paid to care, not like the tutors who were there for a paycheck. Natalia cared, really cared. Masha didn't understand it at the time. Why would this stranger take them in? Why would she feed them, house them, love them like family? She was just grateful, because at 12 years old, when your whole world falls apart, you don't ask questions. You just hold on to whatever feels safe. And Natalia felt safe. The years in Montego Bay were hard, but they were honest. Masha learned what it meant to work. At 14, she started helping at the restaurant, washing dishes, serving tables, learning recipes. She went from a girl who had everything handed to her to a teenager who understood the value of a dollar because she earned every single one. She was good at it, too. School during the day, work at night. She even started taking administration classes at a local college. Natalia helped pay for it, but Masha covered her share. She was building something, a life, a future, something that was hers. Her father, he was barely around. He'd show up once every few months, looking worse each time. Thinner, more paranoid, more desperate. But he always had the same message. You're safe here. Stay with Natalia. I'll come back when I can. Masha stopped asking when. She stopped asking why. She just focused on surviving. Winston would call sometimes, check in, make sure she had what she needed. He'd moved to the United States a few years after they left the mansion. Business, he said, had to get out of Jamaica fast. Masha didn't press for details. In her world, adults had secrets, and those secrets were usually expensive. Then came her 17th birthday. It was late, almost midnight. Masha was studying for an exam when she heard banging at the door, loud, frantic. Natalia answered it, and there he was, Malcolm Kingston. But this wasn't her father. This was a ghost. Eyes sunken, hands shaking, smelling like he hadn't showered in days. He grabbed Masha by the shoulders and said words that would haunt her for the next year. "You're going to be okay, I promise. But I have to disappear for a while. It's for your safety. Don't look for me. Don't ask questions. Just trust me." And then he was gone. That was the last time Masha saw her father. She tried to move on, keep going. What else could she do? But life had other plans, because exactly a year later, on her 18th birthday, Natalia started coughing. Just a cough at first, then blood, then hospital visits, then a diagnosis that shattered whatever stability Masha had left. Lung disease, advanced, aggressive, expensive. Masha dropped out of college immediately. She took over the restaurant full-time. Every penny went to Natalia's treatment, the medication, the hospital bills, the oxygen tanks. Masha worked 16-hour days running a business she barely understood just to keep the woman who raised her alive. But it wasn't enough. 3 months. That's all they got. 3 months of fighting before Natalia's body gave up. Masha held her hand as she died, and in those final moments, Natalia didn't say goodbye. She didn't say she loved her. She reached under her pillow and pulled out a folded piece of paper. On it, a phone number. Winston Clark's number. Masha sat in that empty house for 2 days, staring at that piece of paper. Why did Natalia have Winston's number? Why did she keep it hidden until the very end? What was she supposed to do now? She called. Winston answered on the second ring like he'd been waiting for her call, and maybe he had been. He told her everything. Well, almost everything. The business had collapsed years ago. Her father owed money to people you don't owe money to. Dangerous people, the kind who don't send reminders or collection notices. They send messages, and Malcolm had run out of time to pay them. That's why he ran away. That's why Winston fled to the United States. That's why Masha was hidden away in Montego Bay with Natalia, a woman who wasn't just some random friend. She was protection, a safe house, a way to keep Masha off the radar while her father dealt with his debts, or didn't deal with them. Winston didn't know. He hadn't heard from Malcolm in over a year. Masha told him she had nothing left. No family, no money, no future in Jamaica. The restaurant was all she had, and she couldn't run it alone. She wanted out. She wanted to come to the United States, start over, build something real. Winston was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Sell the restaurant. Get as much as you can. I'll help you get here." She sold it for $32,000. It should have been worth more, but she needed cash fast. She contacted Winston, ready to book a flight. That's when he told her the truth. She couldn't come legally. Her father's debts, his criminal connections, her name was flagged. Masha Kingston couldn't board a plane to the United States without being stopped at customs, questioned, possibly detained. But Masha Rivers could. Winston had been living in the U.S. under a fake identity for years. Winston Rivers, clean record, legal resident. And if Masha was his niece, if she had the right documents, if she paid the right people, $10,000. That's what it cost to become someone else. She paid it. Crossing that border changed everything. Not just her name, not just her identity, but who she was. Masha Kingston, the girl who grew up in a mansion, died the day her father disappeared. Masha Rivers, the girl who survived, was just getting started the moment she stepped on American soil. She didn't know if her father was alive. She didn't know if she'd ever see him again. But here's what you need to understand. Masha's story isn't about losing everything. It's about what you become when everything is taken from you. It's about survival, identity, and the lies we tell ourselves to keep moving forward. Because at 18 years old, Masha Kingston was dead. But Masha Rivers? She was just getting started. If you want to know what happens next, Watch the following video.